So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Well, if you're used to my channel, it's different from me because you know that I don't really like this build. But it's not all that different for what a lot of people build. So we're going to be doing a drone build centered around target protocol, which is one of the stronger drone perks in the game. We're probably going to try and avoid a swarm build, but we'll see how the perks land. First of all, smooth cannon. This is a really important upgrade because target protocol works by marking things with your scrap launcher or scrap blaster, and this reduces the cooldown of it. If we can get 2 of these, that would be huge. So we'll start off, summon 2 drones because you have infinite cooldown on drones when you're in a paused area, so you want to make sure you've always got those up, and then you can just go into it. Now we are on hero 6 today. I'm not speedrunning, and if I'm not speedrunning, I don't really bother playing on anything other than hero 6. So we are going to have to deal with elites, and early on this build is very weak. It's very susceptible to the fact that it just doesn't do any real damage yet. And its weapons aren't really going to scale higher than just the weapon base. It's going to be fairly important that if we want our weapons to do good damage, we're going to have to rely on good weapons. We can't just kind of make weapons work by having a strong build. We'll grab an early mine gun here so that we've got some marking for the boss, and we've got some mobility. Probably won't use it much on weaker enemies, maybe a little bit, but for the most part it's only for bigger mobs. Pick up our first upgrade. Our first upgrade here realistically wants to be targeting protocol, and we're happy to spend a few rerolls to make sure we get the primary of the build. Everything else we can build around it. Hot dogs is going to be a huge pickup here because it's always good if you're doing any burn damage. Hot dogs just makes your AoE that much better, and it means that we can potentially build our drones burn if we want. So then they're going to have some good AoE potential as well. It depends though, we either want to go burn droids to consistently have burn procs and hot dog, or we're going to want to steer away from burn on the droids and have burn on us so that we can proc hot dog ourselves and then get toaster so that our drones are doing more damage. Realistically, hot dog and toaster are items we're going to want to pick up either way, but we're going to have to decide if we want to be proccing burn or if we want the drones to be. So it will depend quite heavily on where the perks land. So I've got enough cells to pick up the dragonfly, but not to upgrade, so we'll have to rely on the next set of free weapons if we go for that route. We're going to want bug net because there's a bunch of flying enemies in the game that we don't like, and it helps for a bunch of the bosses as well. If we can start stacking up percentage damage against bosses, that would be great. I'm going to risk it. I'm going to grab a little dragonfly because it'll give us more sustain, and I think our damage will be good enough to be able to survive until the next set of free weapons, which will be in the puzzle room. At the moment you'll see that the drones are basically not really even out damaging my burn procs, let alone my base gunner shot. So it does look like a hugely lackluster build from the start, but it does scale very well. And once we get going, you'll see that it is going to start chunking, but it's not going to really start getting going to a 3 perk point, so towards energy center. So it will be a grind and a challenge up to that point. And then again it will be a challenge once we hit Haven, because Haven is so difficult about engineering, but I'll talk about that when we get there. So otherwise I'll run out of things to talk about when we get there. Okay, so Unleashed Buddies is a huge pickup as well, because it just increases the fire rate of your drones by 150% while also increasing the damage by 100%. So this is the setup for their huge damage. I'm gonna grab a risky artichoke here. Again, this opens up the possibility of if we want to start doing shock damage, or if we want the drones to be doing shock damage. Because yeah, the damage profiles that we can get with like a drum, an artichoke and hot dogs is huge. Like the amount of AoE damage we're going to be able to put out will be humongous. So yeah, we just need to decide what elements we want and what really. So the next couple of perks are really going to decide that. I suspect I want burn on me and shock on the drones, which is what I normally do. We'll see. I kind of need to pick up damage here. As much as I want Party Popper, I kind of need it. Okay, we've got Elemental Buddies. We can take that as our second pickup, which is good. We don't need to rely on another roll. But I do want a consistent... So normally I would go for Mine Gun here, because we know we've got a boss coming up. Mine Gun's huge boss damage, and then I can just swap it out in the next area. What I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go Fire Launcher, so that I can carry on blocking Hot Dog. I'm going to take Elemental Buddies and Shock, so that my drones are now triggering the Artichoke damage bonus for themselves. And we should be Gucci. We can pick up... I don't expect we will, but if we can also now pick up a drum, then the build will be laughing. If not, it's not the end of the world. Drum isn't humongous bonus, it's just a nice consistent little thing to have. We're just going to keep throwing out shots against the Goliath as often as we can while triggering the rest of the room really. We're going to keep trying to get the target protocol attack speed buff out, so that our drones are outputting as much DPS as they can. So we're almost holding down the secondary ability at this point. The attack speed buff is 2 seconds and our cooldown is about 3 or 4 seconds now. Okay, so French fries could be huge here. If I manage to get Bonsai Tree, then my drones will start being able to crit. And if my drones are critting and I'm critting, then I can get more cooldown on my primary ability. And if I get the perk that I want later on, that'll be increasing their attack speed every time I heal them. So you can see how that stacks up. So we're just going to want to keep basically just rotating this as much as I can. I should have marked them at the start so that we're doing huge damage. You can see it's 36 damage a shot when they're marked, and they're shooting ridiculously quickly. Like the damage they're outputting is actually pretty big as well. That. But they're doing almost undoubtedly more DPS than I am at the moment. We'll grab Electric Revenge, because it's just a nice little damage spikes if enemies hit them. It's not a very reliable damage buff, but it's a really good way of applying like quick stuns. And I just saw out the corner of my eye that we've got a Bonsai Tree. So this build is going to start picking up quite nicely now. Just hope that we can get the next perk that we want, so that we can start massively rotating the attack speed on these drones. Hot dog's so strong there, you saw it proc and kill like half the room. Probably would have been better to put hot dog on the drones if I think about it, but I didn't really have a reliable way of getting a shock weapon at that time, so I didn't really want to risk that option. Wouldn't have been a huge risk, I wouldn't have lost much, but just trying to minimise the RNG as much as possible. Halfway, jump halfway again. You can jump over that whole thing. It's far more consistent to do what I did there. And I always favour consistency in standard play. So our drones pretty much killed that elite there without me doing anything. Probably would have taken less damage and been more consistent if I had chosen to fight them myself, but there you go. Okay, we've got Van Arbalest, one of the best weapons in the game. So I don't have the ideal perk option here. I could risk a reroll. But it's probably better just to go Geared Buddies because this is part of the perk line that I'd want to get anyway. I'm going to pick up the Alt-Fire Scanner. It is worth noting that supposedly, this comes from the devs as well, not just myself, that your drone attack speed decreases the cooldown of the alt-fire. So because I'm getting huge attack speed on my drones, they should be doing mark more than 6 seconds. So that was information that the devs gave on the Discord some time ago. So it's not something I've strictly tested, and it's not something I can prove, and I don't know if they've changed it since they said that. But that's the last information that we were aware of. That's how it worked. Something else that I've not really spoken about yet, there is animation cancel you can do with the engineer. So if you look here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot my scrap blaster and then heal my drones at the same time. It's very simple to do, you literally just press the scrap launcher button and then press whatever your primary ability button is, and you'll launch out your scrap blaster and it'll heal your drones during the animation of that. So you don't have to be stuck in the animation of healing. So you don't have to do this while fighting or anything like that. So you don't interrupt your shots with 2 instances of abilities, just one. That's a nice little buff you can do. Scrap collector is basically pointless. Just increases the number of scrap that you get every scrap blast by 1, which is neither here nor there really in my opinion. So we're going to grab another alt fire and the rockets this time. I prefer the rockets over the lasers every single time. There's no real rhyme or reason why I do that option. I just tend to prefer explosives over lasers, and the lasers being able to crit, I've never really found that to be consistent enough to really worry about it. And the rockets on standard are more damage, so someone might do the math and prove that I am completely wrong in my choice and that the lasers are always better, but based on my experience and what it feels like, I always prefer the rockets. Took a lot of damage there. We're not going to bother with that room. I think you can do this room in one jump if you get the perfect rocket jump. Yeah, you can. But if you mess it up or you're not too confident in your jump, then you can just jump off the wall again as well. Even with a mine gun that has, or a flare gun that has reload time after each shot, you still have enough time to do it. So that's actually one of the harder puzzle rooms to not take damage in as well. So being able to just jump over it all is really nice. You can just see these lightning rockets just tearing them all up. As you can see, this is far from a ridiculously strong build. The damage isn't so crazy that everything's dying instantly, and they're not really offering me enough protection that I feel safe to not die. So it's definitely not one of the stronger builds you can do, but it is a fun little build with like a bit of a difference to it, because there's not many kind of minion builds you can do in the game, but there are a few. To be fair, if you think about it, unfortunately the engineer probably has one of the weaker minion builds, but oh well. Don't really care about any of these items, didn't really care about any of the weapons in there. So we're just stacking these cells up, waiting for the next set of items that we want to buy. You might be like, but 23 is loads, what? You don't need that many. It's not, you don't need that many, but it's, if I get 2 items in the next area that both cost 9, it's nice just to have that buffer to know that I will be able to pick them up and upgrade my weapons if I wanted to. Drones completely slaughtered all of that for me. So I'm mostly using the flare gun at the moment. I keep getting hacked this run, it's not good. I'm mostly using that for mobility, but Engineer is actually one of the few classes that doesn't need to carry a weapon for mobility, because you can use a scrap blaster, and because we've got double oiled on our perk options, the scrap blaster is actually on a low enough cooldown that it's not even really punishing to do so. So that is worth noting, but the flare gun is still just kind of better at rocket jumping, which is why I'm still keeping it and still doing it. I can't really do any damage to those fire immune rooms, so the fact that I've got shock drones is really helping in those situations. That elite should have died really quickly because I marked it, but unfortunately one of my drones decided to fly backwards into a position it couldn't shoot it, which is one of the downsides to running a drone build. But it wasn't really a big loss. Like, this should die pretty quickly because my drones are going to keep stunning it and marking it, hopefully. see there's not much uptime from it. And they're hitting for like 58 damage a shot, which is pretty decent. So that was a very, very easy fight thanks to the repeated stuns. Just hoping I get the perk that I want next so that this build can actually start to be ridiculous. Up to like 200% attack speed on drones is just ridiculous. There's no real point to swap up my flare gun. Power Glog's one of the worst guns in the game. Scout Sniper is just worse than my Arbalist. And Boombox is kind of pointless. It's only really any good, I guess, if you're getting hacked or, I mean, blinded. But we're not relying on fire rate weapons or anything like that at the moment. Popcorn doesn't work with your drone. Hey, we got scrap snacks. Perfect. So the build is now pretty much got what we want. So yeah, popcorn doesn't work with the alt fire marking, but I think it does work with post stamps. So I'm actually going to pick up all three of these, because explosive AoE will work with hot dog explosion size, post stamp explosion size, the marking from my drones, and the missiles from my drones. So that's a really quite a good pickup. Oh, and it'll do the size of my scrap launcher as well. And I've still got enough to level up. Could have picked up a better Arbalist, but I'm happy with what I've got. Right, let's go in. So we go up top at first, because this first area is a nightmare to fight well. It's so enclosed and got so many enemies directly in front of you. So I like to go up top there. It's a little bit slower, but it's definitely the safer option. Get my attack speed up on these, and look at the drones, absolutely shredded. Basically got constant 250% attack speed at this point, which is kinda mental. But taking that into account, it's still, take some extra boss damage there, it's still not as high damage as most gun builds. Sail, stun that up, kill that. Jump on the elite to try and get the stun off. Rinse and repeat through. Protocol mark. Protocol mark. Dying. Brooms are not attacking it. They are shooting the wall. And that's the problem with the drone build. They're just inconsistent, unfortunately, about actually being able to consistently shoot the target. I'm going to take elemental damage here. I would normally take pack leader if I was running any kind of weapon damage build, but because this is more rotated around my drones, chemistry will buff my weapon damage and my drones, whereas pack leader will just buff me. So I'd rather do the one that's kind of more universal. Rocket jump over here to get out that corner where they're all aiming. Go all the healing. Still taking a bit more damage than I would really like to in general. He normally wants to take damage, but definitely a preferable amount to take. Drones can't kill it because it's shielding. Cool, the shield bot swaps targets. Look at it get absolutely melted. Yeah. As you can see, the build will really start to take off once you get to the Haven area, which is funny because, as I mentioned earlier, Haven is such a difficult map for engineer. It might not look like it at the moment, but you've got these turrets here. If your drones or some of your AoE hits them while you're not paying full attention or while you can't kill them outright, then they go absolutely ballistic and basically just instantly melt you. They are one of the scarier enemies in the game if you ask me, especially for kind of small AoE bursty kind of builds. Just because you can't kill them quicker than they can kill you, really. But we managed to control it. We managed to make sure we prioritised those turrets, and we didn't get caught out, which is the main way of dying on Haven as an engineer. It's even worse on a burn build. So as I said earlier about the attack speed stuff, we can also take oiled alt fire here. So it's going to make their base shots slower, but it's going to make their rocket and their marking so much quicker. So we'll do that, we'll see how that works out for us. Going to take 25% bonus damage on my Arbalest damage, but be taking a lot more damage myself and probably throw the run by doing so. So let's see. I say let's see. If I do throw the run, you guys won't see, because I won't post the video. That was a very quick clear in the first area. These are fire resistant mobs, so it's going to be a bit slower. So I wanted to concentrate a little bit there because I actually lost a run that I was recording just before this one. That was actually stronger than this run, which is a shame that I didn't really showcase it, but I lost it to this area. I'm not really sure how I lost it, I just kind of randomly died, so kind of concentrating a little bit more than I was last time, because I don't want to have to re-record the video for a third time. I'm hoping when we get to the final boss that it's again not really going to be much of a challenge, because I'm just going to be able to stun lock it with the drones. Baby Swimmer is kind of a bad perk as well, because realistically you don't want your drones to die, so you don't really want to have this safety net. If you are in a situation where this is being used, then you're already failing your build basically. As I said earlier, this is also a dead perk, so we're just going to get 10% fire rate. It's not a big buff, but it's big enough. Big enough that it'll be useful. Because size doesn't matter, right? Get absolutely owned by that Shinobi ninja, even though we were shooting it. corner. Jump up. Okay. Just get a cheeky head bounce on that because I can. That was a little bit scary, I'm not going to lie. Hot dog just did some work then. Missed that jump up, but I tend to have a backup ready with the wall jump off the wall. Wall jump off the wall, yes. Where else would you wall jump off if you're not wall jumping off a wall? Fucking numpty. Okay, we got to the final. Let's see who we get. Okay, so this boss, if I lose to this boss, I'll actually upload the video because it will highlight a huge issue with this build. You can just flat lose against this boss with a drone build because the drones sometimes will just choose to get stuck behind this pillar. And that is just an insta loss and you can't do any damage. Luckily, because I'm running shocking ones, I don't have to move around too much to avoid the damage, and I could just face tank enough of the damage to keep my drones there. It didn't matter. But that is, you can insta lose to that boss because of that mechanic where they just, the drones try and follow you and get stuck behind the pillars and then can't shoot the boss, and then because they're 90% of your damage, you can't kill him. But anyway, there we go. 20-minute run. It's not fast, but it's a fun run. Got some good highs, but it's very painful at the start. If you have any questions or anything like that, hit me up on Discord or drop me a chat. Thank you very much for watching, and peace out.